Yar har har, it's time to be some pirates.
Yar har.
Yar,
Yar. Me
matey.
matey.
Yar. Yes, of course, when you're thinking of like, oh, what game series are we going to have a pirate in? Of course we're talking about the Yakuza series.
Why not? Why not?
Why not?
Sure.
Why not indeed? Oh boy. Yes, hello, welcome to this week's episode of the seasonal anime Checkup OVA. It's a podcast where we have conversations about video games, anime, and manga. Hello, I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc Al and Lady
Hello. Yar.
Yeah, there you go. This is episode number 429, and we are discussing Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. A mouthful of a title.
It is a mouthful. I just call it Pirate Yakuza.
Yar.
Ahoy, me matey.
Ahoy, me matey.
Yo ho, and a bottle of
Yar
rum.
har. Yo ho ho.
You just turned him into Santa.
Maybe there was a Santa pirate. You
know what? You're right. I don't know. I don't know for certain, so maybe there is a Santa pirate.
It's true. Yes, this is the next installment in the... All right, there you go. This is the next installment in the Like a Dragon / Yakuza series, taking place after the events of Like a Dragon 8, Infinite Wealth. So if you haven't played that, you should probably play that before playing this, because they'll just straight out outright spoil the end of that game for you in the first couple of hours of this game.
Yep.
They do not care. They're like, hey, here's what happened. All right, anyways.
I sent you a message so that you can know why I freaked out.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're not wrong. That is true.
Santa is a pirate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
All right. This game came out on February the 21st of 2025 for the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and the PC. Yeah, this is a very similar style of game to Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, in terms of the way it's structured and everything. Excuse me for hitting my microphone wire. It is, it's like 5 chapters, so it's a much shorter game, but it's also similar in the fact that, you get to like the second chapter and the game kind of opens up for you, and then also it's like, all right, here's all the stuff you can do. Have at it, have fun.
Yeah, we spent majority of the time in chapter 2.
Yeah, you'll spend a lot of time in that chapter specifically, just doing all the stuff you can do right at the beginning. Yeah, and you were Majima. Majima is here.
Majima.
He's become a pirate because of just some wacky circumstances, of course, because it is Majima.
He can't remember anything.
He's an amnesiac. Again, another game we talk about with an amnesiac, and also, I guess you could say this also continues the trend of the legacy of the parent that we've kind of been going on for quite a while now.
It sure does.
A lot of familiar themes this week with this game.
Look at us go.
Look at us go. But yeah, like you said, if you played Man Who Erased His Name, you'll be pretty familiar with how this game works and everything. But even still, we did everything that you could do in the game, and I think it took me about 40 hours or so, at least 40.
That sounds right.
To get through everything. But that's like I said, doing literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's talk about the development of this here game. This game was developed as a standalone expansion to Infinite Wealth following the success of the spin-off title, Like a Dragon Gaiden. According to RGG Studios director Masayoshi Yokoyama, the concept of Gaiden was a gamble due to its more compact size and scale, but due to its positive reception, it allowed the team to develop the series more deeply. Yokoyama thought about writing a story depicting Goro Majima as a follow-up to Infinite Wealth, and chose the pirate angle as a way to do things differently than how the team usually did. Development started shortly before the release of Infinite Wealth and was first hinted at by Yokoyama in December of 2023. Yokoyama has estimated the main story to be 1.3 to 1.4 times larger than that of Gaiden, which I think that makes sense. While the adventure section is much bigger due to the addition of new locales. Hawaii was chosen as a primary location as the team did not want to stop using the setting after just one game. Again, that's just how they kind of do things with these games.
Mm-hmm.
In May 2024, RGG Studio hosted a Minato Girls audition, similar to past games audition contests, where the winners would be chosen to appear in the then-announced new Like a Dragon game, in addition to performing promotional activities. The final 5 winners were announced on July 19th, 2024. During the same month, the studio confirmed that they would reveal their new game at TGS. And then in September, they hosted the RGG Summit 2024, where they revealed Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii for the first time, introduced the game's voice cast, and talked about the combat system and new activities. They put out a new trailer in October detailing the naval combat system, and then they also confirmed a new release date of February 21st, 2025, moved up a week from its original date. And then they had a launch day patch that added the English and Chinese voices to the game itself. On the Metacritic, it has a 79 out of 100 for the PS5, an 81 out of 100 for the PC, and then an 89 out of 100 for the Xbox version, and then an overall 84% on OpenCritic. So yes, Pirate Yakuza. It is it's an interesting game because, you know, similar to Gaiden, it has its own little gimmick to it, where Gaiden had, you know, the whole like secret agent style of combat that Kiryu could do. In this, you have the pirate style that Majima can do, which is its own different thing, you know, because you're dual wielding sabers and all that sort of stuff. You have different moves and combos and all that sort of stuff compared to his more traditional fighting style, which, you know, uses his knife and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then also there is the naval combat stuff, which I was kind of hesitant on because I feel like a lot of times when you do naval combat, it doesn't really work out that well.
Right.
So I was kind of worried about how that was going to work here, but it's kind of just very simple. Where you just, you know, you don't really have to like do a whole lot of like controls for it. Like, you know, you move the boat with like just the analog stick. That's how you're gonna go and all that sort of stuff. And then, like, you know, you just have to line up your cannons on the sides if you want to do that. And if you want to like use there's like also a machine gun that's mounted on the boat you can just use when you're like kind of just sailing along, which also helps. So like it's very, you know, rudimentary in that way, but I think also it helps in terms of like not being super overcomplicated and kind of just like making it way too much of a new mechanic that would probably just like make it not fun.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, just like, you know, making it easier just makes it a lot better to play.
You can also
se.
use a rocket launcher, and you can also heal your ship.
Yes, you can just be sailing, and then you can get out of sailing and like kind of like run around the ship proper. Like you need to like go heal people on the ship, heal your crew. You can just pull out a rocket launcher and shoot that at the boat, or you can just heal the boat yourself if there's like it has a status effect on it or something of that nature. Yeah, you can do those sorts of things.
Feels very, very Majima to have a rocket launcher on the ship.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Yeah, so I played through this. Al watched because
Mm-hmm.
this is an action game, not a JRPG.
Right. I don't do well with those.
No, so you watched me play through the pirate game.
Although there were moments where it was like kind of Muso-ish, and I was like, interesting.
Yes, that is true. There was some Muso-esque moments in this game, which was very interesting.
That was intriguing to me. Anyway, continue.
Yes. I was going to ask you, like, as an outsider, what was your opinion of the game?
Like the gameplay?
Just the game itself, in general terms.
I mean, I think it was a fun game. I think that it was an entertaining thing to like go through, see what kind of piracy shenanigans we were gonna get up to. Recruit wild people to be on our crew. I mean, it plays a lot like Gaiden in terms of like, hey, we're gonna be doing all these sub stories. Um, and obviously it's like not gonna be as long as the other games. Um, what else do I have to say about it? Had some really
Okay.
nice like characters, like some of the main characters I liked a lot
Yeah.
that were not like Majima. I like Majima a lot, obviously, duh. Um, but like I thought Masaru was interesting. I
Mm-hmm.
thought Noah's whole thing was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really care about Jason.
He's just there. He had his hat.
He was just there. Um, you had some baddies that I was nervous about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you had some interesting characters. Um, it was a fun time to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was thrown off a little bit because it didn't like have as much of a like emotional punch as Gaiden did.
Sure, but I think as well, like going into it, you kind of knew there was going to be that emotional punch.
I didn't know that Gaiden was gonna have that emotional punch until it did. So you never know with these games.
Yeah, I mean that is true, but also I think it's probably a little bit harder to do that with Majima.
You think so?
Well, just like how his character is, it's like more kind of like wild and out there than just how Kiryu is
Hmm.
per se. But yeah, like there really wasn't that big like time to super cry moment that you would get in or that you got in Gaiden.
I thought they were gonna give
Um,
it to us at one point, but I don't want to like get super into spoiler zone yet, but I don't want to forget to say this either, so I don't know how to handle it.
we'll put it in the back of your mind.
I'm gonna write it down in our chat, but not
Compartmentalize it.
send it.
Okay, that also works. That also works indeed. Yeah, we got a bunch of new mini games in here. There's a whole coliseum for boating essentially, where you
Hmm.
go to this place called Madlantis, and they basically have their own coliseum thing, but it's just for the ship battles essentially. It's the same kind of deal, but you just got that. So you got to go around, like you said, you got to go around recruit people, similar to what you had to do in Gaiden. You got to get your whole crew, upgrade them, upgrade your boat, so you can progress through these fights and everything. It's kind of very similar to all that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
There was the whole Minato girl thing where we had to set up Masaru with trying to get him set up with the gal, and then we
That
just got
was
this full on
funny.
like live
FMV.
action shot Yakuza version of The Bachelor essentially, and it was just completely out there and all over the place and a very wild time.
It was so funny. Like that was really unexpected. And it like the entire thing was just really funny.
Yes.
Um, I will say though that Kaho is much better looking in real life than they made her character model, and I feel like they kind of did her dirty.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, oh no.
Yeah.
Um,
Noted Twitch streamer Kao Shibuya definitely didn't do anything else.
no, it didn't do anything else. Um, th- I Hongo also didn't do anything else.
Mm-mm.
But it was fun to see like Majima streaming.
Yeah.
It
Just
was
getting real into Virtual Fighter streaming.
well, we now know who he canonically plays.
Yep.
It was also fun to like with Kaho's story, him being like extremely sex positive, and I was like, oh
Mm-hmm.
hell yeah, good for you, buddy.
Yeah.
Because that easily could have gone a whole different direction and it didn't. Um, him being the cosplayer, that entire storyline was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect the live action part of it, but it ruled.
Yeah, so you didn't know about that, and I did. So I
No,
knew
I had
coming
no
into it like that
idea.
was going to be a thing eventually, and then when we got to that, you were just like, "Hang on, wait a minute, what's
I
going
had
on here?"
no idea.
Uh,
It was super fun though. Like I don't think I stopped laughing while we were doing that entire segment.
it just goes all over the place. It's very fun,
And then like the way it ends is just chef's kiss. Beautiful. What a good way to end that sub story.
very good.
Perfection. So yeah, that was obviously like one of the major requests that we did.
Hmm.
Um, that one was it was good. It's very good.
We got to save a bunch of animals and put them in like our own animal
Zoo.
sanctuary, which
Yeah.
was very interesting. They
Yeah.
didn't really do a whole lot with it, but it
They
was fun just
didn't.
going around getting all those animals. You have
You
like
can
the whole
cook?
you get to there's a whole cooking thing kind of similar to guide not guide into
Ishin.
Ishin. There's drink links again. Where you
Hmm.
can do that with like kind of like the main members of your crew and all that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh, there's some deep cuts of characters they brought back.
there are some very deep cuts of characters they brought back that we were both just like, wow. I want to make mention of that later on when you talk more spoilery stuff, but yeah,
Okay.
it's very interesting. You can dress up Majima however you want with both his just kind of like uh hanging out in Honolulu attire, which is I guess just his normal attire, and also his pirate getup. And you can just do it like with whatever you want. Like they have specific outfits you can pick and choose from that are kind of like, some of them are just like kind of generic themed, but also some of them like are very much callbacks to other stuff. Like you can have him dressed up as the 24-hour Cinderella idol outfit. You can have him dressed up as Goramy. Or you can just like pick and choose from a bunch of different options as well. So like we had him in his like normal attire was the idol outfit. And then for when he was as a pirate, we had him in a magical top hat. We had glasses over the eye patch.
Of course.
The Obasan's tiger sweater thing.
Yep.
Some cut off denim jeans, some jorts. And then had him in some Crocs.
Some purple Crocs.
That's his pirate attire.
It was so good.
It was incredible.
I was sad when he got moved out of that for things, but oh man, it was such a funny outfit because when he did show up in cutscenes with that, I was just like, oh wow.
It's very funny.
It was really funny. I'm glad they let us be a little bit of a menace with that. I mean, he's in his 60s, so let the man wear Crocs if he wants to.
Yeah, let him have some comfort. But you can go full on with like the customization stuff here because they give you like a ton of options. There's a ton of options to go and like buy stuff. Also, you can do this for the ship as well, where you can customize like the sails, the body of the ship, the front piece of the ship, and all that sort of stuff. So there's quite a few different options you can do with all that sort of stuff as well, which is fun. I know what you're laughing about, and yes, that is very good. But yeah, there's a lot
you dress up Goro as well.
You can also dress up Goro, who is the little tiger that Noah runs around with.
Goro's a cat.
Sorry, Goro the cat, of course. Definitely not a tiger.
Definitely not a tiger.
Definitely not a tiger. So yeah, you can like do a little customization for Goro as well, which is fun. Yeah, a lot of good fun customization options here. All the music stuff's back from 7 and 8, and now you get things like you can have the Angry Birds theme playing if you want. Because why not?
Why not?
That's silly.
But we have like reload music in here now, and metaphor.
Yeah.
Metaphor music kicked in at one point during a ship battle. It was just perfect.
It's very good. Some of the people from some of the characters you would have met in Hawaii are back here again, like Kason and the bartender are back here because you go to the bar here and you do karaoke and you hang out there for sometimes. So that becomes kind of like a hangout spot. So like those two are back, which I thought was surprising because I figured they would just replace them or something. Because usually they don't bring back those kind of smaller side characters for games that they're like where they revisit the setting essentially. So I was like, wow,
right.
Kason got another paycheck from them. That's cool.
Yeah, and I was curious, like, were they going to put her in it? Because, like, I didn't know if they had any kind of agreement on it or...
Yeah.
Like, honestly, she probably put herself in there, like, for no payment.
Yeah,
she's like, all right, let me be in.
Yeah, she's there. She introduces you to, like, the friend thing again, which is a similar thing that's in Infinite Wealth and all that sort of stuff. And then you can just put her on your ship, which is very fun.
It is very fun.
But yeah, a lot of good fun mini game stuff here. The gameplay's it is the more traditional like a Dragon / Yakuza style with the action. All that stuff feels pretty good. Some of the pirate stuff.
You also have a hook.
Yeah, the pirate stuff you can get like a lot more like different things to do. Like you can throw your sabers at people. You have a gun at one point. Like Al said, there's like a little hook you can use. Like you can basically just kind of not create distance, basically just warp to someone essentially just like by hooking them and just going right to them, which is very nice, especially for the gun people who just like to hide out in corners and shoot you. So you can just be like, yeah.
It is nice that they have like a sound effect that goes with the guns this time, so you know when they're about to shoot at you.
Yeah, so you can dodge out of the way, which is nice.
That's pretty nice.
But yeah, that's kind of like the gist of the mechanics and all that sort of stuff. Dragon cards in here again. Crazy delivery. I was surprised to see
Dragon Card back.
So like there are some returning mini games as well. You can play Master System games again if you really want to. I don't know if you really want to, but those are here.
You can technically fish.
Yeah, kind of.
You can either fish with your hands or you can use your hook.
It is technically fishing.
It is technically fishing.
Just not traditional fishing, let's say.
He does not have a rod.
No.
Mm-mm. You also forgot to mention on the certain ship battles you have to do like the like
Oh, were you like you
the
take
pirate battle
yeah, you
thing?
take down like kind of like the leader of the pirates you're fighting against, and then you'll have to go kind of board their ship and fight them on their ship type deal. So yeah, that's a thing you can do.
Oh, I meant the sideways like fighting game type thing up on the mast.
Oh, there is that as well, that was very weird. They only used it like a couple of times.
Yeah, it's
It
usually
didn't
like
feel
during
that
plot related stuff.
great.
I
So
imagine it didn't.
maybe a good thing they didn't use that often. But yeah. Let's dive into some spoilers, I guess.
Spoilers.
Spoiler time. Get out of here if you haven't listened or you haven't played or
Goodbye.
you don't want to get spoiled type deal.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. All right, spoiler time.
Didn't expect a dance number.
Oh, I forgot this game is basically just an the Somnium Files game where there's a dance number in the credits. I forgot that was
How
a thing.
could you forget?
Look, there's a lot of stuff in this game that, is that was a thing. I forgot about that. That was very silly.
It was really silly. I loved it.
You mentioned this earlier. It was very surprising to see. It wasn't surprising to see Nishida back because he always shows up for Majima stuff, but Minami showing up was like, wait a minute,
That's a deep cut.
you were from 4 and then didn't show up again ever. So like, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
That was a very good deep cut. I didn't know this until just now that apparently the voice actor for Minami is also the voice actor for Auron in Final Fantasy X.
Oh.
He's also Itachi in Naruto, and also the voice actor for Leon.
No.
Good old Squall.
Oh my goodness. Oh, we should have mentioned there's an English dub and it's pretty good.
Well, we did say that they put it in English dub.
I know, but we didn't say it was pretty good.
Well, we didn't watch it.
I watched parts of it just so I could be curious. And I watched all of the karaoke songs in English.
Yeah.
Matt Mercer understood the assignment.
It's very funny seeing Matt Mercer sing.
He's a very good singer though, but like he understood what he was supposed to be doing
Yeah.
here with Majima, and I can appreciate that because that's a very hard role to step into.
Also, just it's very weird to hear those songs in English, like some of the more well-known Majima songs, just being like, hang on a second.
Hang on.
Yeah, so that was they also like the main antagonist of this game, Raymond Law, is modeled and voiced by Samoa Joe, professional wrestler.
Didn't know that until you told me.
He looks great in the game itself. I watched some of the cutscenes that he does the voice stuff for it, and I was like, yeah, that's Joe. That sounds like him. He's just yelling Goro Majima at Majima.
As you do.
I was like, hell yeah. So that was cool to see him in this. Once again, we get a second Yakuza game featuring a member of a Love Live cast. Which Al does not know because that's why she's silent.
Yeah, who?
Naomi is voiced by Yoko Hikasa, who, of course, is Kaoruko in Nijigasaki.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
I mean, she's also like, Kirigiri and Danganronpa and Mio and Keion, but,
But the Love
more
Live.
important things, yes.
You gotta bring up the Love Live.
The Love Live. Yes.
Wait, so who is this, Naomi?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Jason's eldest daughter.
Yeah, I just took me a second to remember which daughter that was.
Also Lilaps as well. I forgot about that. She's also Lilaps.
Lilaps.
So yes, double Love Live representation.
Wow.
Back-to-back games now.
Legit.
I mean, you also get the Anju song in this game as well, which is nice.
You put that on the boat.
Throw that on the playlist and you're good to go.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And then also they got the guy from the live action Like a Dragon television series who played Majima. He's in this game. He actually has a bigger role. He actually is in here for more than 2 minutes. So that was fun to see, like, live action Majima going head to head against game Majima. Like, that was a fun little thing. If you know type thing.
If you know what you know, yeah.
Yeah, so that's fun. He plays a Shigaki who is just like a little who's just there to try and get rich here. Which I
Mm-hmm.
guess we should mention the plot of this game. Essentially, like you said earlier, Majima washes up on the shore of Rich Island. He gets helped by Noah, who's this little kid who helps him around. Tries to
And
get his
has asthma.
bearings. Has asthma, of course. Majima has amnesia, doesn't know what's happening. And then basically they go to the one island that the the religious people were at.
Mhm.
What was that island
This
called?
Melee.
Nele Island, yes. So like a Dragon Infinite Wealth spoilers, of course, they are still cleaning up the nuclear waste that is still on that island from when Palakana was just storing it there so they could, like, use it to. They were basically getting it from bad people to store it there, and that's how they were making business deals and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the Yakuza have come over to basically help with the cleanup of that. But also, we find out later on is that that's not all that they're there for. There's also everyone is trying to find this treasure of Esperanza, which apparently contains a boatload of treasure, no pun intended,
Mm-hmm.
and an eternal life elixir. And apparently, it is on Nele Island, so
Mm-hmm.
that's why everyone's kind of just swarming there and trying to get it. So like. Majima eventually figures this out. He teams up with Jason, who is Noah's dad on Rich Island, who basically just like had a bad time at Mad Atlantis one time and got some people killed. Now he's kind of holed himself up on this island and doesn't want his son to leave or anything. Also because he's got asthma and they can't fix the asthma, so he's like, I don't want you to leave. This place is good for your asthma.
And Jason's also kind of a drunk.
Jason's also just a drunk at this point as well. Yeah. And Majima's like, I'm going to get you off this island, kid. And then he runs afoul of some pirates and then kind of just takes over a boat and becomes a pirate captain.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then they learn about the treasure. And then everyone basically is going after this treasure. And that's kind of the gist of this entire game. So yeah, you have Majima and his crew going after it. Shigaki and these former Tojo clan folks who are on Nele Island to clean up the mess are going after it. Rodriguez is a former Palakana dude, and he's got some of the other people who are still there, because they just haven't kind of given up the faith and anything. He's also kind of going after it as well. And then you got the people who run Mad Atlantis, Queen Michelle and Raymond Law, who are also going after it in their own separate ways. And then there's this old guy from New York, Spade Tucker, who's like has the information about it and also is going after it as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of your gist of this game, and a lot of stuff happens. And then Saejima shows up at one point. He's like, Majima, we gotta go home.
Come home. We got to get you some health care because you hit your head.
You have amnesia, bro. And Majima's like, I don't know who you are. Don't call me
Don't
bro.
call me bro. Call me captain.
I'm the captain here. And Saejima's like, what did I do?
Sure.
What did I do to have this happen?
Also, he's very corporate, Saejima. Like, he's dressed so fancy.
Got a nice button up.
Yeah, and some khakis,
Yeah, he
some slacks.
doesn't have his big old jacket. He's just looking. He's dressed nice. He's
looking professional.
Yeah, he's in his old age now. He's just like, gotta look professional. I'm on the job here. Gotta do my stuff and all that.
Gotta check out my brother who's out here being a weird amnesiac pirate.
Being a weird amnesiac pirate. Yep.
Oh, you guys mentioned the haunted instruments too.
Yes, there are haunted instruments you get from there's another side story where you go fight these pirates that murdered one of Jason's friends, and you basically pick up the daughter, and she's like, I'm gonna kill these dudes. And there's multiple scenes of her just like, I can't let anyone else die. And then you see her holding out a Glock, and it's like, damn, let's go.
Yay!
But yeah, that's a whole sub-story deal, and then eventually you run into these treasures that are these ghost instruments that you play them and they summon various aquatic life or island life to help you
island
out.
Life.
You have a violin that or something that plays that you can get sharks from, which those were the sharks in this game. That's it. That's all there is. So I saw.
Yay!
So the screenshot I saw was of them being summoned. Essentially, it wasn't just Majima fighting sharks. So I went back and looked at it. I was like, oh, that's just the ghost sharks. Okay.
I see. So I had to look away for that, but then you got other instruments and it was fine. Like you got the monkey. Monkey.
Did you play the guitar for?
And so that's guitar.
You played something and you got jellyfish. I forget what you played.
I also
And then
forget.
there's like is it the saxophone that brings out
Saxophone for the
the
parrot.
real OG, the bird.
The
The bird
bird.
is OP in this game because it just basically you summon it and it basically will just like warp everyone into a tornado and just do damage to them, and it also does so much clearing. So like there's these fights where you can you'll fight against like pirate crews and it's like 100 people you have to fight. You summon the bird immediately, you can wipe that entire like group in half. So like they'll be down to 50 immediately.
It
It's
is
so good.
wild. It's so efficient.
Bird. We love bird.
It's an ocarina.
Yes.
Ocarina for
The
jellyfish.
ocarina summons the jellyfish. You're right. But yeah, those are fun.
But
Those are
the
fun
bird
little
is
silly
the
things.
champion.
Yes, the bird is the best one.
Mm.
What were we talking about? I forget now.
I don't know. I was gonna say though with that one that Noah ends up getting a crush.
Yeah. She's that
So
girl is kind of
he's
also
really learning some stuff.
that girl's also funny because like she's kind of like she's there for that side story, but then all the other like main story stuff she's kind of just like
She's not there.
around. She's very much like the gal from the Ichiban Confectionaries side story in 7,
Yes.
where
Yes.
like she's a bonus party member, but then like anything like main story she's
Just not
where'd
there.
you go?
Yeah, it's wild that like she's not there, but Captain Beef is.
Listen, Captain
'Cause
Beef
he's
is
like
very important.
He is, but he was, a required recruit, so he was always
Yeah.
there. But it was just funny that Captain Beef was always
Captain
there,
Beef.
making all his weird meat
Weird
puns.
cow puns. Oh, jeez.
We were talking about Saijima, and then
Yes.
somehow I got off on the
What
instruments.
was
and I don't
the
remember
thing
how
you
we
wrote
got
down
there.
you wanted to bring up?
Oh, I was gonna talk about how I am a little bit bummed that they didn't really do more. Like, we find out that his reason for going in the first place was like a kind of the he had heard the rumors about this and heard about the like elixir of life type
Mm-hmm.
thing. And so like it's obvious he was gonna go get that and try and give it to Kiryu.
Yes.
And I wish they had like done more with that. It felt like it was really glossed over of like, oh, by the way, this was happening. And I don't know. It just felt like that could have had a much bigger emotional impact than it
I don't
did.
know, like though, how much more they really could have done with it though, like because like it's definitely brought up at the end of the game, and it's like, oh, this is the
Hmm.
real reason you were going there, and it's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. That sounds like a Majima thing to do. Like he would chase after this very wild rumor that sounds kind of implausible, but also like maybe it's true, and he's like, I'm gonna go. If that's true, go help my bro out. That's
Hmm.
my guy.
I just felt like they could have done more with it. I wanted them to make me cry.
That's a very odd thing to say.
Um, because like the ending, like epilogue cutscene, it was very good with the two of them just like chatting about,
Hmm.
life and death and all that, and
Getting old.
professional and calling Daigo a kid.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Um, and I think that's actually where they reveal that like that's what he was
Yes,
looking for,
because
right?
it's them standing. They go. There's like a full post-credit scene of
Still can't believe they're smoking when
yeah.
Kiryu's dying of lung cancer.
Yeah, there's a whole post-credit scene of them back in Japan, of Saijima and Manjima back in Japan, and they're driving towards the hospital that Kiryu's in, and they get out of the car and just like to have a smoke and chat before they go in to go see him and all that sort of stuff, and then that's where Saijima brings up the fact of like, oh yeah, you also we know about you going out there to treasure hunt. That was the reason you went out there. And then lo and behold, you found your way to the treasure anyways. Isn't that weird? Life finds a
Hmm.
way.
Yep. And I mentioned a few times the real treasure was the friends we made along the
That
way.
very much was.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like they could have done a little bit more with it, but I can also see your perspective on like how would they have done it.
I
But
don't like
that's just personally how I feel. I wanted them to make me cry with
again,
it.
like Majima really isn't like the big like we're gonna give you huge emotional beats of like that nature of like let's make you cry type deal. Like obviously he has.
Do you remember me with Yakuza 0?
That's what I'm saying. Like obviously there's the stuff in 0, but like that's kind of an exception to the rule. Like there isn't a whole lot of that outside of that game, really. And then I feel like it would just feel weird. Oh, in a way to like have that with Majima.
You think so?
And just a little bit. Like I don't know if like it would necessarily hit. It would just. I feel like it would be kind of out of place. Because like I don't think Majima would just be like sitting here being like, I'm gonna get all emotional and teared up about thinking about going and getting this elixir to help Kiryu. He would just be like, yeah, I'm gonna go do that. Let's go.
Well, I'm not saying like I want him to cry. I want me to cry, not him.
Well, maybe you just weren't. You were just tired and you couldn't muster up the tears. They weren't. There wasn't enough sympathy crying for you.
There wasn't. And I kind of wanted to hear more of like what they've been up to since 8.
I mean,
but I did also think piracy, obviously.
well, I mean, we could also just tear off the band-aid here and say that hey, this game ends with a to be continued.
It does. That's true.
So they can dive more into some of the stuff they've been up to and whatever they're doing next. That's going to involve Majima and other folks, I guess.
The to be continued was really intriguing.
Yes, we were both just kind of sitting there like, what? Huh? Excuse me?
Because we're kind of hoping that it leads to like a swan song of the old crew.
Yeah, I feel like that's the only thing that really makes sense.
Yeah, it is.
Like I don't see them just being like, oh, we're going to do another pirate game or just another Majima game. Like I feel like if you're going to put that on the end of this thing in particular, like it's got to be like, hey, we're going to, and with the way they end this game of Majima and Saejima going up to Kiryu to tell Kiryu about their whole wild piracy story and everything, that like we're going to finish up this story finally once and for all in terms of Kiryu and all the old heads. Essentially, it's super wild to think that like, you know, when Yakuza 6 came out, that was supposed to be the end of the Kiryu story.
Right. And now we're post 8.
Here we are like what, 8 years later essentially, and we're still not done with it.
To be continued.
Which I think it would be more interesting to get like a wrap-ups for like Majima and Saejima and Daigo and everyone. Like I know Kiryu doesn't super need that now because I feel like Infinite Wealth kind of gave him that with all the stuff that they let you do with Kiryu in that game.
Yeah, his bucket list and like the very ending of him getting his name back.
Like all that stuff is kind of wrapped up. And I feel like it obviously like
let him rest,
but also like he would be in that game. He would be in a game with, you know, the OGs essentially. Like they wouldn't just leave him out of that. So like it wouldn't necessarily be him just like missing all the fun and everything. Like he would show up here and there probably. But like he doesn't need necessarily maybe the wrap up that like these other guys do and like just let them ride off into the sunset type deal.
Yeah.
But the thing is like we don't know what that's going to be though. That's the weird thing. Like is this going to be another side game type deal like this and Man Who Erased His Name? Or are they going to kind of like roll all of this into 9, which I feel like would be kind of weird because they kind of did the same thing with Infinite Wealth. And I don't know if you could really do that again.
I would prefer that stays as like a side story and that 9 is really like Ichiban and his crew. Which, good lord, the video filming with him recounting the story is so funny.
Yeah, there's a good bit within the credits of so you begin the game and it's like Majima's recounting the story of what happened. And you get a few bits and pieces of that here and there throughout the game, but at the end it's like, all right, here's Majima finishing up the story, and like Nishida and Minami are there, and they're talking about like, oh, you didn't get any of the treasure, you just let everyone else.
You wanted this picture.
You know, the friends we made along the way type deal. And then also you see as well, like they're talking, and then the camera kind of just pans over that Ichiban's over there as well, and he's just like, he comes over to Majima and he's like, are you sure this is true? Did this really happen? And Majima's like, bro, come on.
This kid doesn't believe me.
Believe me? It's just very funny. Ichiban's like, I don't know about that.
I don't
There's
know
a
about
great part where
that.
they're talking about Majima when he fights the giant squid, and that's the impetus of him getting his memories back. And Ichiban's is like, I also
Mhm.
fought one of those things, and like I think if there was more than one of those, people would know about that. Come on, you're pulling my leg here. It's
So
so
funny,
good. Like that was
especially because the one he fought was on Daily
hmm that
Island.
was a.
So
I feel like adding Ichiban here as kind of like the questioning voice was a very good little silly thing.
it totally was. I like that a lot.
That was fun. And then also you find out there actually was an elixir, but it was just like these weird ass rocks that Rodriguez's dad had found and was using, and allegedly also Bryce was using as
It's
well. The
the
whale
whale poop.
poop, yeah. It was just rocks, and then he
Um,
just dumps them out in the sea as right before he dies.
I'm gonna find it. I don't know how to say it.
Ambergris.
Yeah, is that how you
Yes,
say it?
ambergris, or gray amber. Freshly is produced in the digestive system of sperm whales. Freshly produced ambergris has a marine fecal odor.
Great.
it acquires
Love
a sweet
that.
earthy scent as it ages, commonly likened to the fragrance
Gross.
of isopropyl alcohol.
Great.
Dogs are attracted to the scent of ambergris and are sometimes used by ambergris searchers. There you go. Now you know.
Oh man. Um, but yeah, so that was the actual elixir was ambergris.
Ambergris trade is illegal in the United States, by the way. But
I've
if you
heard
want to
that.
go to like the UK, France, Switzerland, and the Maldives, you can totally trade it there. Very legal.
For- Formed from a secretion of the bile duct in the intestines of the sperm whale and can be found floating on the sea or washed up on coastlines. It is sometimes found in the abdomens of dead sperm whales. Because the beaks of giant squids have been discovered within lumps of ambergris, scientists have hypothesized that the substance is produced by the whale's gastrointestinal tract to ease the passage of hard, sharp objects that it may have eaten. Interesting that giant squid is mentioned
Hmm.
here, but it also does say citation needed, so it's past like fecal
Did you know
matter.
the substance is considered an aphrodisiac in some cultures?
You know, some people really need to
Did
be
you know ancient
stopped.
Egyptians burned ambergris as incense, while in modern Egypt, ambergris is used for scenting cigarettes?
Again,
The
people
ancient
need to be
Chinese called the
stopped.
substance dragon spittle fragrance, which I think they kind of dive into in the game because they kind of talk about it
Hmm.
being like some kind of Chinese medicine deal. But also during the Black Death in Europe, everyone's favorite time of European eras, people believed that carrying a ball of ambergris could help prevent them from contracting the plague. This is because the fragrance covered the smell of the air, which was believed to be a cause of the plague. Now you know.
The the fact that it's like, hey, it has a strong fecal smell, and then people are like perfume. Uh, hmm.
I don't know if I was
Hmm.
going to say, hey, do I want to smell poop or do I want to die of the Black Plague? I think I'm going to smell poop.
I mean, I'm gonna pick the poop too, but I'm saying that like perfume is a little bit different. That you're like, let me get this poop in
Well, I guess
perfume
like
for
there
like,
are technically they are like it's not the same thing as when they're using it in perfume. It's a similar,
right.
chemical structure, but it's not. They're not just like taking this rock and like dumping it into a bottle of perfume. Like job's done. We did it.
They're gonna love this. But yeah, so that is the elixir of life is
Yep.
whale
And then
poop.
Rodriguez's dad just like wakes up, hears that they found the treasure, and then just goes out to sea and's like, all right, gotta dump out my whale poop and come back and die.
I love that Rodriguez is like, yeah, Dad woke up and just started throwing some rocks from the front yard in the
Real
ocean. That was
strange,
real weird.
anyways.
Anyway, I was like, oh no. Yeah, he just came back in and was like, all right, time to
Blech.
die. Bleh. Because they're like, oh man, he would be hundreds of years old. That's weird, isn't it? Huh?
Because
Hmm.
one of the twists at the end
Um,
as well is like they're like, oh, he was supposedly he was just like a dude that was on that ship. He was the dude that was at the
Yeah.
ship that the treasure came from.
And then he just stayed on the
Yeah, which
island.
again, there's is another thing of like two dudes in Palicana just like being way older than they should be, him and Bryce. And there's like that photo of him and Bryce, and then they zoom in on the photo, and there's like a little tiny rock on the table with them poking out
Yep.
from the side. It's like,
Hmm.
interesting.
And oh shoot, what was it gonna the whole thing was that like whoever was on that ship originally like could take something of the treasure
Mhm.
for themselves. And so like once they realize everything, like, oh, maybe he took the elixir because he's old
Yeah.
as
It's
hell.
like him, it's Rodriguez and Shigaki, and just like some dudes there just chit chatting about this. They're both just like, maybe you took the elixir. Nah, that's silly.
Hmm.
Nah.
Whale poop.
Anyways, you want to go clean up some nuclear waste now? I guess I don't know. Guess that's all we're doing.
Ah.
Um, yeah, all this stuff was silly. All the stuff with them trying to get the treasure was a silly time. Um,
Mm-hmm. Michelle got
Blown up,
cannonballed to
yeah, she
death.
got blown up very big. She was like, "I'm fine. I run Atlantis," and Samoa Joe's like, "Nah, I run it now. You're gonna get blown up," and she got blown up.
She got blown up. Naomi's like, oh, I guess I don't have a boss anymore. Okay.
I was
Anyway, Majima,
Yeah, I
can
was
I
very
help
sad that
you?
when you fight Raymond Law, he does not do a bunch of Samoa Joe's wrestling moves. Very disappointed that he does hit
Oh,
Majima with a big lariat
sorry.
at one point, which is fun. But he doesn't hit him with the muscle buster or just try and choke him out. Disappointing.
I did think one of the cool moments, which you had to point it out to me because I didn't notice it, was
Oh
that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
when Majima calls Saejima brother or something like that, when like things are going bad
Yeah.
with Jason,
So like yeah,
you're
there's
like,
a whole thing that
hmm,
goes down with them trying to fighting over the treasure because there's like this is because Raymond Law's like I got the younger daughter give me the treasure and I'll give her back, and they're like okay, we'll give the daughter back, and Shigaki's like
Moana.
nah, we're not doing that, we're taking the treasure. And then they have a big fight and scuffle, and then he goes to stab Noah even though he's like I was just gonna scare him, and then Jason gets in the way and gets stabbed, and everyone's like ah no. And then Majima immediately is like, "Yo, we gotta get help." He like yells at Saejima like, "Hey, we gotta go. We gotta help him. We gotta go get help." And he calls him Kyodai there, and I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, interesting," because that was a
Because this is post
yeah, because we
Squid
saw in
moment.
the Squid moment like him remembering back to when he fought the Squid originally, and that's when he got his boat crash and all that sort of stuff, and that ended up him washing up on Rich Island and everything. But it makes sense that he would say that in
Hmm.
that moment, especially if he's getting his memories back and all that sort of stuff, because of like how instinctual he had to be in that moment, being like, okay, we need to get help now, like no thinking. And he just said, like, he
Right.
sees Saejima, he's like, hey, let's go. And he just calls him what he always calls him, essentially. So I was like,
Yeah, he basically forgot to keep the
yeah.
charade up that he couldn't remember because he wanted to keep it up until everything was
Hmm.
solved. And Sajima's like,
Yeah.
so you've been remembering for a while, huh? You got everything back with that squid? And he's like, yeah.
Yeah. That happened. Saejima was like, gosh dang it. Why
Darn
do you
it,
gotta be
brother.
uh, such a doofus?
Doofus.
Yes.
Um, and then him and the Naomi like rescuing Majima when he got
Hmm.
like beat to hell. And he's like, you
The best
always
part
do
was
this,
Saejima
man.
coming in with the hat.
That
It's so funny.
I loved it. It was so good.
I was like, yeah, wear the hat. And he's like, here you go. This is your hat. And he's like, oh,
This is your hat. Oh,
I
it's
guess.
his hat. Um, I can't believe you forgot the dance number.
Like I said, a lot happened in this game.
A lot did
But yeah,
happen,
the dance number is
but this
very funny.
it's
I
very
was not expecting
funny.
this game and the Somnium Files, both games, to feature credits dance scenes. But here we are.
Mhm.
It's
Here we
very
are.
funny.
It's very
Uh,
good.
Man, interesting stuff happens in this game. Like we talked about. I'm very curious to see where they go next, especially with that to be continued thing at the end that they tease, because they have not really said like, hey, here's what we're working on next. Obviously, this is the indication, hey, we're working on something next.
Right. They're cooking something. We just don't know what.
But what exactly? Who knows? Well, I guess like they have talked about things they are making. Like they're making the next Virtua Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
They're making that Project Century game.
Right.
But those are the only things they've mentioned. That
But
like,
we
hey,
don't know what they're making in this
the
universe.
yeah, at some point next year we will get probably another RGG Summit type deal, and they'll be like, hey, here's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not that's just like, here's the next mainline game or not, who knows? But we'll have to wait and see, because it was 4 years between 7 and 8.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, they put out Lost Judgment, they put out Ishin, they put out Man Who Erased His Name, so there was some stuff to put out in between those two games coming out. And now we have the pirate game, and then we'll have whatever the Project Century game ends up being, and then probably some other.
I assume we're gonna get something related to Judgment at some point.
I hope so. Just figure out what you got to do with the actor situation. Get that sorted and make a new game.
Please.
Let me see Yagami and Kaito, the boys back in town.
The boys are back in town.
Because those games are very good.
They are very good. But I feel like if we have like, some of those, it gives them enough time to cook up 9.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll probably do more stuff like that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do next post this game.
I do wonder if they're gonna have to do the to be continued game between this and 9. Like depending on what happens. I don't know. I'm interested.
Yeah. Like I wonder if it's going to be like, if it'll be like that, or like it'll be kind of like a concurrent thing, like how Gaiden was a concurrent thing with 7 in some parts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's, again, all this stuff is just, us theorizing because they have not said anything. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what they do next with with this series in particular. Because that was a shocking thing to see. Was not expecting it in the slightest, but yeah.
No, I was not either. I mean, what a wild thing to slap at the end of like a Goofy pirate
Yeah,
game.
because you just think like, oh, this is just one and done. We're done. They're gonna go talk to Kiryu, and blah da da, and here's the end part, and then like, no, we're not done here yet.
To be continued.
To be continued. Yeah. This was a fun game. I enjoyed it. I thought, I thought it might be a little gimmicky, but it was a fun little story they ended up making, and Majima fit in right well with the idea of being a pirate. He,
He's perfect for it.
He got right into being a pirate captain and was like, this is my thing. I'm going to do it. And it just, it made a whole lot of sense. And like you said, a lot of the new characters were fun as well. Some of the returning characters were some surprising and interesting additions here and there.
And we just looked like a menace on the seas with our boat.
We sure did look like a menace on the seas with our boat. It was a good old time. Yeah. I think like if you played through Infinite Wealth and you want more, this is obviously more, so you should probably play it. And also if you like the structure of Gaiden, the kind of like the shorter game structure that Gaiden introduced, like this is very much in that wheelhouse. So like you'll feel right at home in terms of how this game plays and all the stuff that's in it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's it. That's Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Majima sure was a Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Sure was.
He sure was.
We pirated and we Yakuza'd.
We did both for sure. But that's gonna do it for us this week. This week. So if you'd like more from us, head on over to seasolanimecheckup.com or sac.cool is where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Jared Now Watch. You can also find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you'd like more from Anladium, go to anladium.com, see the columns and reviews. You can follow us on Twitter and TikTok at Anime Checkup. Follow us on Blue Sky at seasolanimecheckup.com. You can buy our books, One Shiny Moment, A Critical Analysis of Love, Life, Sunshine, Hot Tubs, and Pac-Man on Amazon.com. And explore us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. Buys a slice of pizza, get access to unedited versions of the podcast early. Our bonus monthly Patreon podcast is up there. We got a wealth of other bonus content on the Patreon as well.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, I don't know what we're going to talk about. We have basically a buffer week if we want to use it, and then probably the week after we'll have to dive into some tournament action.
Oh, snap.
March Madness.
March Madness.
So we'll have to figure that out as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we got some things to figure out over the next couple of weeks.
Yay.